Benjamin Mendy, guys, has been found not guilty after 2 long years. Serious matter. He's found not guilty. The former Manchester City footballer has recently been acquitted of charges of rape and attempted rape. Mendy's journey through the legal system has come to an end with his second trial, where he was found not guilty. Mendy has expressed that he seeks privacy to rebuild after enduring a 3-year-long process. All right, 2 years, 3 or 2 years. I'll take 3. That has been undoubtedly taking its toll on him. When he was found not guilty and outside the courthouse, he expressed his gratitude, saying Alhamdulillah, which means praise be to God in Arabic. Mendy was the left back for Manchester City. He was suspended after the charges were announced in August 2021. His contract with the club expired at the end of the 22-23 season, just this past June. He began in France before moving to City. I can't even remember how. He barely played a season. I don't know how long he played for City, but yeah, it's important, I think, to remember these legal proceedings and the trial by media. We talk about it a lot. What are your general thoughts about this whole case and the fact that he's been found not guilty, guys?
Who wants cultured? You?
Yeah, I'll go. I don't mind going. Yeah, I think it's is this the reason we have the courts and stuff, isn't it? There's always this thing of you can't show. You should always be innocent until proven guilty, and if a court finds him non-guilty, technically he's innocent. Now, is it innocent because there wasn't? There's lots of things on Twitter around just because it's a not guilty vote doesn't mean he's innocent. Well, technically it does. That's the point of it, right? They haven't found him guilty, so therefore he is technically innocent. And I always think you've got to believe the courts in this sort of sphere, and if that's what they found, that's what they found. And now it's a case of him rebuilding his career, and football is what he does. He's what he loved, and he said that in an interview. And he's, like you said, Kart, he wants that privacy to try and help rebuild his life. I don't think there needs to be a witch hunt now on the other way to be like, oh, why don't the victims or the people that accused him give him something back because they've ruined his career and his life? Well, that's not how it works, because they felt there was enough to go to court. The prosecution thought there was enough evidence to go to court, so it's just the court of law have found him not guilty. And I think it's a tough one, but I'm always a person that if that's what the courts say, then that's, unless it's like, I wasn't watching courts. I don't know. When was O.J. Simpson? I don't think I was even born. But with that, that was like
90s.
I think now looking back at it, you can say like they got that verdict wrong. Whereas this, it's so much more private, I think, is a way to describe it. That you just have to trust the courts have got it right, and that's how I see it. So I'm sure it's been hard for him. It's been hard for the accusers as well, of everything they've had to go through in court and relive for things and stuff like that. But if the court of law finds him not guilty, then he's not guilty. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Miley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't much else to add to what Culture said, to be honest with you. I mean, it could, every story could never end. Doesn't matter if it's that story or any other story, right? There's always this side and that side, and whoever wins that case, the other side, whoever you're supporting, you're going to be, well, that's just, whatever, right? It will never end for some people. And I think, stay off Twitter if that sort of thing gets to you, because you will just see nonsense. You know what I mean? It will just go on and on forever. So I'm sure he will be staying off social media. I think, look, like Culture said, actually kind of looked at it from a really good angle there, where it's not, he's been proven not guilty. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not guilty, right? If you trust the justice system, once it goes that far, then he's not guilty, right?
Right.
So that doesn't, like Coach said, doesn't make it any easier for the people that accused him if they believe that something went wrong. The only caveat that I would say is I do think, and you would hope that during the process of this, that those accusers were also investigated, if the whole story was investigated, because if it was complete nonsense, I would want to see them punished, not give him something back. But I think, you know, there have been cases where people have literally lied and falsely accused somebody of something, and I think that's a really bad crime in itself. So I've not read anything about that. I saw Mendy's I saw what Mendy said outside the courthouse, and that was it. I mean, I didn't think too much more of it other than that. I mean, you know, if he wants to play football, I hope he gets to play football. But yeah, where it'll be, I don't know. I instantly thought, well, he'll go to Saudi. You know, that was my first thinking.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What's next for him? He's 29, I believe, 29 years old. Still, you know, could if he I mean, he hasn't played. I don't know how much he's played, but certainly hasn't played professionally in 2 years. Could he make a comeback? I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I think. I mean,
I think he will somewhere. He will somewhere. Like he's clearly a very good footballer, right? You don't lose that ability even without two. He would have done personal training, and he would have had a personal football trainer that had done making sure his footwork and his footballing skills were still at the top level as best they could been. It's just he's not training in a club environment, which that he then needs to build up. But I think he will find another team somewhere. I think with the money that is going around from Saudi at the moment, that probably is the best, or the most, not the best, the most likely looking destination for a player of, one, been out of the game for 2 years from club football, and two, will have, rightly or wrongly, baggage attached to him in potentially the whole of Europe now with what's gone on. So it could be a good way to do it. And you know, a good couple of years in the Saudi league, he'll still only be 31. Then there could be chance to come back to Europe. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Just touching on what Milo said before, though, I don't think there was, because I think there's a difference between accusers just accusing people and it never going to court. I feel like there must have been enough evidence of something. Like there must have been evidence there for it to get to court and then be proven not guilty. Whereas an accuser that just does it and it never gets that sort of court case or conviction or arrest or something like that means that probably was a bit more unfounded, let's say. But
yeah, maybe. One question I have is, I think I read somewhere that Man City like potentially owe him 15 million in salary and stuff total.
Yeah, there's talk about that. Yeah,
I was reading something about, I mean, my personal belief is if he's not going to play for them, that they will look to settle that like privately behind the scenes with a settlement figure.
They've released him on a free, right? So they released him because of the court case, which means they probably owe him. He can now take them to court for,
I was going to say, loss of earnings would be
dismissal or loss of earnings. Yeah,
loss of earnings. So. Incorrect. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I would think they're not going to want to do that, right? They probably are more likely to, and maybe it will be the full amount, maybe it won't. I don't know.
Yeah, that would just be one made-up sponsorship deal for Man City, wouldn't it? 15 million. So
yeah.
Yeah, as far as the trial goes, apparently there was like a bunch of conflicting reports from the accusers. So like there was like, it was just like a bunch of texts, voice messages, you know, all this stuff, all these types of things is what they collated to make the case. And you know, and Grealish caught some. I don't know if you guys read all of it. Grealish caught some strays in this whole thing as well. He was, you know, he was in these sex parties or whatever that were going down. So you know, it's just classic Manchester City stuff, you know, if you ask me. No, it's serious stuff. But yeah, it's just like I think at one time in the trial, Mendy said, "I've had sex with 10,000 women" or something. You know, he said something. You know, like the trial exposes so much, right? The toll it takes is like so big. Yeah, you forget about. I mean, obviously with the current news cycle. You kind of thankfully, in this case, you can forget about those quotes. Obviously, I'm going to bring them up because we're talking about it now. But, you know, that stuff takes a toll on you, man. If you got to admit that, and Pep Guardiola was brought in, you know, I don't know if you guys remember that. He came in and, you know, and then Grealish's name is being said. And then there's another, they're talking about all these instances of, you know, parties and this person go into this house and then later to this house and things happen. It's like it's very, yeah, like you mentioned, like the accusers, since he's been found not guilty, need to be punished. This is almost like a defamation thing now. You know, it's like
well,
I'm not a lawyer.
Yes, and like Culture said, for it to go as far as it did suggests that there was evidence that could have pointed to the fact. You know, somebody would have looked at all that evidence and felt like there was enough there, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with Culture's point on that, because I think for it to get that far, it has to.
Yeah, absolutely.